If you're a brand new Dungeon Master, or you're considering being one, odds on favor is you come across a wide variety of tips across the internet. Some of them, like starting with a starter adventure, are actually very helpful. But there are also ones out there that are less helpful and sometimes can be rather, well, if I'm going to be honest, elitist or gatekeepy. There are 3 tips that I have seen in my time online, though they do seem to be decreasing in popularity, that I do want to debunk right now. So without further ado, and really in no particular order, here are 3 DM myths. Number 1, be a player first. Like a lot of these, this one does have an air of truth. Honestly, being a player first is actually incredibly helpful, because it's a way to allow you to interact with the rules and see how the game plays without, well, feeling overwhelmed. You get a small portion of it, and then you dive further into the game. This one does make a lot of sense. However, you don't have to be a player first. I didn't get my start running games with D&D or Pathfinder, even though I started in the hobby with Pathfinder 1st Edition. Rather, I started running with Star Wars Edge of the Empire, a completely different system. The most I knew was the core basics of how the resolve mechanics were operating, and then went from there. Though later on we found out we were running those rules completely wrong because Fantasy Flight doesn't know how to write a rulebook to save their lives. But it didn't really matter because, well, we were consistent in effectively a house rule, and the game functioned just fine. And the players were having a good time, the story was operating, and this is a game that I wasn't a player in first. I had a basic understanding of how the game functioned, and then went from there. So long story short, yes, it is intimidating, and yes, it can be helpful to be a player first. However, if you're really wanting to run a game without being a player, you can absolutely dive into the deep end, no problem. Number 2, memorize the rules. Now, this one is kind of an extension I did touch on in the previous point. And also this one does come with a caveat. I do think at the very least you should have the basics of how the game operates. So games like D&D and Pathfinder, basically understanding how D20 plus adding a number and beating a specific DC impact things. And truthfully, if you get this element down for a game, you're more than likely going to be fine. Other elements you can kind of figure out as you go, or even ask questions amongst your players. And yes, this is one of those things that's important to state at session 0. How much you know about the rules, how much of the rules are going to be improvised or on the fly. That way it can set a proper expectation for the table. And hey, if you're running a table full of new players, good news, you can all learn the game together and stumble your way through it. Going back to Edge of the Empire, that's basically what happened with my group. We stumbled our way through learning those rules, and well, we had a blast. But what about the moments when I don't know a ruling? Well, in those moments, here's my suggestion. Take a quick pause. See what you can find about the rule at the table. If you have to flip through the book, or if you have a PDF or even digital source, using Control F is a good idea. However, if you can't find the exact ruling, then use your working knowledge of the rules in that exact moment, promising to the player that you will do your research between sessions. Then come to the idea if you want to go with what you ruled or the actual ruling at next session or even before it. And hey, good news is if your table liked your ruling rather than the actual rule, you just create a new house rule. Nothing wrong with that. Number 3, running modules makes you a fake DM. This one I don't think is as common this day. However, I have heard it from time to time. But as with everything, this one does seem to be fading, and that is a good thing because modules are your best friend as a dungeon master. You absolutely can use them, either to just run them straight through, especially if you're a brand new DM, that way you don't have to necessarily think of the plot, or you can even use them as tools, be it stat blocks, dungeons, or even plot points and NPCs. Even the worst modules out there have something of value that you can probably pull from to use in your campaigns. Just let your players know ahead of time that you are running a module or will be pulling from it. Again, just setting proper expectations for the campaign. And also in case you do have a veteran player who played through that module before, so that way you know to modify things accordingly. The good news is, majority of these myths are starting to fade away as more and more people jump into the hobby and behind the DM screen, They are realizing that many things that were probably spouted as truths a few years ago or even decades ago are not really the case any longer. You don't have to be a player first, you don't have to have all the rules memorized, and of course, you can absolutely use modules in any capacity that you see fit that fits your table, and that's one of the beauties of this hobby. There is a table for everybody out there. Those who really love sticking as close to the rules as possible, those who want to go for more flavorful routes, or those who want to play a completely different game entirely. The RPG space is filled with so many different type of people who play the game for a wide variety of reasons, and that's what makes this hobby fantastic. And that'll do it for this video, folks. Let me know your story of how you got your start of being a dungeon master. And I'll see you all next time.